Are you losing out on potential business due to sales leads falling through the cracks? Whether you have too many people to follow up with and too many different methods, or just have too many other things to do to be on top of tracking these leads, you can have your systems automated through sending email and text follow-ups. Thanks to SmartSuite and Make, I'm able to set this up so I can just set my leads into my system and forget it. So if you want to have a system to help you do more with less, you've come to the right place. Let's get to it. Hey, how's it going? This is Eric with SolveCycle Solutions. If you're new here, I help save people time by automating the work that they hate so they can focus on what they love. In this video, I'm going to break down a reliable automated system that allows you to send automated emails and texts for sales follow-ups so that you don't have to manually do this yourself. In this video, I'm going to be breaking down the tools I use, which are SmartSuite and Make, and how they are integrated in the system. I'm also going to be showing some of the main pain points on how this is set up, talk through a couple of the troubleshooting areas that may occur, and then give you a live demo of how this works at the end. So if you're looking for something specific, I'll be adding some timestamps in this video so you can try and cut to that exact moment that you need. But for now, I'm going to try and address the main points of this automation here. So let's just go in, and I'm touching back on a process that I discussed in a different video about how I'm trying to streamline my entire sales pipeline. And I started with just collecting people's contact information. And this was for cold leads where I need to send some follow-up. So be sure, if you haven't seen that particular video, I'll add a video link up here somewhere, and you will see that the process of how I had ChatGPT extract my business card contacts and put them into my database. The goal is that once these people are extracted and they're reviewed, I can then start sending them out initial emails. So what I would do normally was I would have them in a sales pipeline. So in this case, they would be sitting in this qualifying section. And then I would have to go in, manually send these emails, write them out, and then send them out, and then remember to do follow-ups in like a week or two, depending on how soon I want to try and reach out and, not seem desperate while I'm trying to talk to people. So this was the next step in that pipeline that I really wanted to try and figure out how to automate, because I was failing to make the follow-ups as I needed. So you can see here that there are some additional steps when customers get marked in my sales pipeline. They get added with a status, and then I can send an email out. And basically, I wanted to confirm if a contact responds, great, we can move them into the next phase. But then we have the ability to, if they haven't responded in, say, 7 days, I want to send a follow-up email. And then we will follow this process 3 more times or 2 more times of saying we're reaching out, and then we're going to send one final outreach. But I don't want it to be the same message each time, and I want unique emails there. And if they never respond, then I just want to have them removed completely from my pipeline, like it shows here, so that everything is taken out. So to some of you, it may be obvious why I'm interested in automating this process, but if you're trying to get some clarification as to why, here are the 3 main pain points that I'm trying to address here. First and foremost, I am trying to cut the amount of time that I'm having to do a lot of admin work for me. And I know it might be considered sales work, but in this case, I want to focus on other important things in my business, and this is so easy to keep pushing off that I don't want to do it, so I need to make sure that this is automated so it gets done. The second reason is because this obviously, if I'm not following up with sales leads, they're going somewhere else. So I want to make sure that I am in their inbox, I am in their phone, and that they know that I am there and ready to work with them so that when they are ready, I can talk to them. And the third reason I want to have this set up is due to scalability. As my business grows, I intend for this to be more of an automated process, because I can't have the capacity to constantly be sending lead follow-ups with every single person I have. This process guarantees that I can just send the initial email right now, and have that control over it. But then everything else can be automated, and the follow-ups will just let me know when someone has moved on to booking a meeting or if they are no longer in my pipeline. So how do we build this and make it an efficient system? So there are a couple of things that I need to do or you need to set up here. I am, again, using SmartSuite because this is my favorite database tool. This will also work very well with Airtable, and I'm sure it will work with other project tools like ClickUp or Monday.com. I'm just not as familiar with those, so I'm going to stick with what I know and like. So in this case, I have Eric Harkness with Testington, and you'll see that I have a lot of data that's coming in here. Really what I need to know, the most important things for this process is I need to have a date confirming the last time I reached out for contact with them. And then we also have the pipeline status, their contact name, email, phone number, and then I have some additional data linked, but I need to have some kind of metric that confirms whether this person prefers to be contacted via phone or via email. So this is set up in my actual CRM. And what I would do is if I wanted to reach out to them via phone, I would change that here, or I would change it, or I would leave it as email, however I want to go about doing that. I also set up a submission form so that they can have, the customer can have a unique entrance point for these calls, so I can actually tag their name and have a little bit of additional info there, trying to add a little bit more of a personal touch here. So the other things that I have set up that may be useful for you are that I have a specific paragraph where I can put in some custom messaging that I want to put either into the text message or the phone number or in the email. And then I have a confirmation that's sending the outreach. So that's more of a trigger for me to fire off this automation. One thing that you will need, but I'll talk about this a little bit more once we get to that point, are a status or a formula calculator to show when or how long it's been since this person has been in contact with us. So basically, I am calculating the number of days from when we last contacted the client, so that if it reaches 7, that can trigger an automation to send a follow-up email. And then if it goes 15 days, that'll be my final follow-up there. So there's a lot of information here, but I'll try and keep this as condensed as possible so that you can see how this works. So I have a custom outreach message. So if I wanted to add a personal touch to the email that I am sending, I can add that here. I've also added some help text so I can see what the email looks like. This is the template that I use inside of Make. And you can see there's some formatting things I've just copy and pasted over, but I basically put this custom outreach message at the beginning of the email. So if I wanted to say something I remember, like I really enjoyed learning about how you cook, I would love that recipe we talked about. So depending on how you want to make a personal touch, this is a great option. So you can add some customizability without making just a generic email that's going to go out and more likely get caught in the trash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and save this and go into the automations that I have. So in this particular process, I have a couple of different automations that are all going to act as the same trigger, but go to the same automation so that we can keep having this all organized in one place. So you can see here in the sales pipeline, I have a series of different automations, but the one that we're looking for is the initial outreach email. So in this case, I have the status here for when the pipeline phase is equal to qualifying and when the checkbox is for send outreach is equal to yes. Then we will send an email out to a mail hook that goes over to Make. The subject headline is going to be the title of the record. Now, I know I've mentioned in the past that this message doesn't matter as much with the automations, but in this case, I'm using it to store additional information because we're going to be pathing or path mapping some of these outputs so that they go in the exact place we need them to go. So in this case, I've put the message as initial outreach, and I'm mapping the preferred contact method here as well, so that it will say whether this is someone we need to send an email to or a text message. So for now, I'm going to save this. You can see I have a couple of other here. So initial outreach email, 1 week initial follow-up, and then final initial inquiry follow-up. If I don't hear anything from them after that, they will have in the remove client where days on that formula that I set up, if it's greater than 30, they will be moved from qualifying into a cold lead and they will be archived. Since I talked about that formula here, let me pull that up just so you can see that as well. This is going to be calculating, again, the number of days that have passed since the last contact date. So we have the field of last time of contact being compared to the date of now, and we are calculating that based on the number of days, and we are rounding that to 0. So it's not going to be like 1.2 days. It's going to just be the date difference here of these two exact days. And once it crosses over that line of, in some cases, it'll be 7 days, 15 days, and 30 days, then that will allow us to run that automation without having to manually send follow-ups as well. I know that was a lot of information that we just went over in SmartSuite, but it is very important to know how this can get set up properly so that we can more easily implement everything going on into Make. So the process with Make is going to be pretty straightforward, but there will be some steps that are just going to be tedious, which I'll probably cut some of that out just because if I'm making the same steps over and over again, it can be, you don't need to see all that. But I did want to take this minute to offer, if you are building this and you get stuck, don't feel embarrassed, don't feel ashamed. That's why I am here to try and offer some support. I am offering everybody who, at the very least, has made it to this part of the video, a free 30-minute consultation. So if this is something that you want to have implemented in your business, or if you want to take a look at the larger scale of your sales pipeline, I would love to have a conversation with you to see how much time we can save you by automating some of these processes. So head to the link in the description of this video or scan the QR code somewhere floating around my head and see how much time we can save you in just 30 minutes. So now that we have that housekeeping out of the way, I'm just going to try and build this really quickly because also I realize that I am in a room that only has natural sunlight. I don't have a lot of good lighting, and due to daylight savings, the sunlight is getting darker. So let's see how fast we can get this built. I'm always going to be using mail hooks for this. So I'm going to be setting this up here. I'm going to be using just a test mail hook here, but there's a couple of videos I've made how you can use this and set this up on your own. And then immediately what I'm going to do is I'm going to set up an iterator. And basically this is going to, or sorry, not an iterator, a router is what I want. So I'm going to pull this router, which is going to allow me to direct different paths for the automation to complete based on specific criteria that we're looking for. So in this case, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a specific record. We're going to have get a record here. And this is going to simply map the mail hook criteria. So in this case, I'm going to be looking at the CRM. I'm going to be searching for the title of the record inside of my database. So in this case, the sales pipeline, I'm going to add a filter where we're going to search by contact name and company, which is the field I have that collects the name and business for the contact. So I'm going to map the subject headline from the email, which is what we put in the automation from SmartSuite. And I'm just going to hit OK there. And then to make this a little bit easier, because I'm just needing to do this again, I'm going to clone it and link it to the same place. So it's going to automatically recognize, oh, we are still pulling the same mail hook out. But now the question is, how can we map different ways to send contact information based on email versus text message? So what I'm going to do is if I click on this first option here, this line that connects the router to the top SmartSuite module, you'll see that I can set up a filter here. This allows me to set the criteria that I want, and it will only pass through if it meets that exact criteria. So in this case, I'm just going to label this as email for my records. But then remember how we had that message inside of SmartSuite that said the phase that we're in and then set up the preferred contact method. I'm going to make sure that the text contains a specific message, which would be email, or a word, in this case, email. I'm going to also set this to case insensitive, and then I'm going to map this for phone. So let me just map this again. Set equal to, contains, and then phone. So once this is set up, we can fire off an automation that will then map all these details to the specific path that we want to go. And then from there, what I would do is I would set another router on both sides. So for this mobile view as well as the email view, because I'm going to be collecting again, the series of different emails that are going to be coming through here. We don't need to send the exact same email each time. I want to be able to send an initial inquiry, a follow-up, and then a final. So this is where I would set up here an email. So I can set up this built-in email automating system where we can send an email here, and I will basically just copy and paste. I will map the specific email we have here inside of SmartSuite. And then from there, add the subject headline. That did not actually save properly, so let's get that. Then add a subject headline of saying, "It was great to meet you. Let's connect further," or something along those lines. And then the content is where we will map some of the additional information. So we would say, we can put this in as saying, "Hey, first name, add a comma," and then I have an actual script, but I'm just putting this in for the example here, saying, "Hey, first name, it was great meeting you," and then also add that customized message that we're looking for. If my keyboard would let me keep track of where my actual cursor is, but we basically have this info saying, "Hey, it was great to meet you. Here's a link to the form, submission form." Yeah, there's something weird going on with my command keys here, but we can put that info here, and then once that's all set up, we can hit OK, and then that's good. But we want to set up an additional filter here for making sure that this is going for the first time that an email is going through. So in this case, I'm going to label this first outreach, and then I'm going to pull up the body of the email or the text, and the initial message I had was basically saying initial inquiry. We want to make sure that this phrase is included in that body, because then it will map to this particular process. And so basically from there, what I would do is I would just copy this or clone it and link it to the router, and then set up the same filter for the second outreach and change the email there. Now, the last thing I want to show you is how to use text message or SMS if you're abroad, but how you can send those through Make with an Android phone. So for now, I'm going to just set this Android message up so that I can just go in, find the person's contact. I will need to have where it says phone, because it is kept as an array. I will need to put the 1 here that will allow me to send the text message out. And then here I can say, "Hey, it's Eric. Please let me know if you're interested in meeting up." It can be something as simple as that, and then you can have that sent out. Now, the value is not Oh, the other thing you need to have here that I completely forgot is the choosing the device, which for me, it is listed as Eric Pixel. This is something I've set up in different videos. So if you want to recap on how to have that integrated and make sure that you're turning on all the features you need, be sure to check that video out. So once you have that set up, you will need to go into your phone, but basically you'll need to go into your settings to make sure that you have turned on the SMS messaging capabilities or the permissions. And it may also not hurt to go into your settings to turn on some additional features. I believe specifically it was unregulated access or something along those lines, because it was not working until I toggled that on specifically. So now that I have this set up, I am going to cut over to my actual automation that I've built to show you how it looks with all the different modules and filters set up. So in this case, you can see it looks a lot larger than how you may have anticipated. For me, I just have 3 modules that I'm trying to map out in 2 different instances. So that's why I have these 6 outputs. If I zoom in a little bit, you'll see that I have the email, the phone. It likes to organize things in a different way. So the initial outreach is the middle path, the follow-up is the top path, and then the final follow-up is the bottom path. So I have this set up both for email, and you'll see that this final follow-up for the email, it has a little bit more information here. It's a little different. So it says, I hope you're doing well. You gave me your contact info a few weeks ago, and I just want to reach out one last time to see if you were still interested. So that's really all I'm trying to do here. And same thing for the phone messaging. So I've added a little bit more setup here, and you'll see that it says, hi, first name. You can also add URLs to the phone message. So this will work in this instance. So now that we have all of this ready, I'm going to save this, and we're going to turn this on, set to run immediately. And then I'm going to go in and adjust my contact setup. So let's set this as today and say that I'm going to be reaching out to Eric for the first time. Once we're ready, I'm going to just double check everything. I'm going to hit send outreach here, and then I'm going to hit save. And this is going to then finally fire off the automation. I'm going to be able to back out, and I believe I had this set up on my phone, so it's going to follow the path. And you can specifically see if I zoom in here, you'll see that the automation recognized that the phone preference was recorded in the message, and then the initial outreach was set up, pulled the record so it could gather the information it needed from SmartSuite, and then sent this personalized text message. So if you look at my phone again, you will see that there is a message at the top of my phone now, and I'm going to open that up, and you'll see that it has the custom details that I requested. So it says, hey, Eric, here's my unique form submission, and that's really all there is to it. Now, if we decide we wanted to come back and change how we reach out to this person, we absolutely can do that. So I could hop back in here. I am going to have to open up my original contact point just because this was how I initially had everything set up, but I could change it to email, and we can hit save. And then this information is going to update, where all I need to do is hit send, or uncheck the send outreach box, hit save, and then recheck the send out box. And you'll see that if I go back here, it's going to map the information in a completely different path. It's going to go through and send out the initial email. So it followed the exact same paths for the initial Outlook here. So let me just cut over to my inbox real quick. So looking in my inbox here, you can see that this was the output that came out for me. I did have a little more advanced information here with the signature, which I've also talked about in different videos, so be sure to check that out. But it's that easy to get all of this automated, and really have this do so much extra work for you and save you so much time in the long run. So that covers, in a nutshell, what I wanted to try and help you automate in this particular video. There are so many other things you could do. You could have ChatGPT draft, not send, draft specific personalized emails if you like, or there may be some other ways you could set up. We can set up some analytics to see how our sales acquisition is going. But for now, this was just what I wanted to show you because I think this is going to be helpful for me, especially following up with more people for networking events I'm going to. I hope you got a ton of value out of this. If you found this useful, please consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any comments or questions, feel free to put them down below in the comment section of this video. But in the meantime, that's all I have to say on this, and this is where I stop.